Hey everybody, welcome back to Sonic Comic Chaos. I'm your host, Ian Waffles.
Shut up, Ian! Shut up! Shut the fuck up, Ian! Shut up! Everyone shut up! Shut up! Everyone shut up! Shut up! Mephiles has appeared in a new Sonic game, a new mainline Sonic game, not some phone game bullshit, not some fucking whatever. Mainline Sonic game in 2024. I have won at Bent, Sonic Man.
I was wondering if Sonic Man would get an honorable mention or a dishonorable mention.
Oh, you know it. Well, anyway, that's our review of Sonic X Shadow Generations. Thank you.
No. Let's stay on this moment. Ace, how does it feel to win? How does it feel to get because you got fucked over by the Sonic Man thing, but they were like, oh, we're sorry, the Silver Ace, and they just made him a full fucking boss.
Oh, I've done nothing but win. I've been winning so much. I've just got win all over my face. It's good, it's great. I mean, whoa. Yeah, no comment. Yeah. I mean, we'll get there because despite the bit I tried to do, we're not ending the review there. But no, that's some shit. But anyway, yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sonic X Shadow Generations. We're going to talk about it. It's out. Do we like it? Maybe. You'll have to keep watching. But yeah, okay. Before we talk about the things people actually want to hear about, should we talk a bit about the Gens rewrite?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Why? What was the point?
Yeah.
Because my thing, right, is I'm not mad. There's nothing in there to be mad at. Maybe the Amy stuff. And there's some pretty poor quality voice acting or whatever. There's some parts where it's they were kind of phoning in it. But there's not overall it's basically the same as the original gens. So why did you bother? Surely this costs money. You had to get voice actors in, you had to get Flynn to rewrite it, you had to reanimate some parts of it. Why did you bother?
Yeah. No, it's absolutely just silly. Well, and I do okay. So I'm a two things for this. One, just as far as media preservation, I do think it's kind of shitty that you can't play the original version of the story. For all that I don't really care about Generation Story, that's still a part of Sonic's history, and I think it should be an option at least, right?
Yeah.
The rewrites any bad? I think the voice acting is shit. I think the redubbing's even worse than the original.
Oh. It's so. I will say this. I've gone on record saying I really liked the direction they gave Roger in Frontiers, and God, I hope that's the direction he has in the next main game. Because holy fuck,
everybody sounds bad in this. Everybody, and it's not just yeah.
Yes,
go ahead.
Everybody sounds bad, but it's just one of those things where it's I forgot the pain. Because I liked him in Frontiers. I've liked him in the Tales Tubes and the Takeovers and whatever. So just when his voice hit my ear with that Generations inflection, it was oh geez,
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, also, it's also the pacing. I don't know if you noticed, but there's more pauses between lines and stuff at certain parts. Just bad. It's just really bad.
Oh yeah. Well, it's also just uncanny because it's it's one of those things where it's when Sonic goes without the time stones, it's that's not what you said. It's not what you fucking said. It's just that. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. People are oh, Flynn's flynning it up. No, it's fine. Whatever. Who gives a fuck? But it's the fact that I know you didn't say that makes it weird.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd be fine with it if there was a mode to keep the original story, but there's not, so it's kind of lame. Yeah. But not that I watched the cutscenes anyway, outside of be oh, what are the differences? And the differences don't matter. So
yeah. I watched them at 2x speed on YouTube, and yep. Yeah. Again, I think the only thing really that could generate any discussion is Amy. I think that I don't really care for this weird retconning of Amy into girl, which is her person.
It's very fun. It's very funny that now the idea is oh, she's becoming one of the boys, but then Superstars and now this game are now telling us she was always part of the boys.
Yeah, no, it's whatever. Also, I guess anything else to add before we just go into the Shadow Generations part? The thing people hear.
As far as Generations go, it's still Generations, and I'm gonna need people stop saying like, oh well, the 3 levels are good, but Sonic, no, that's a nice little. No, these classic Sonic stages are great. They're still great. They're wonderful. Like going through like Sky Sanctuary, and like there's like 3 end sections of the level that are like full separate platforming sections, and like every stage has like this amount of variety, like high path, low paths, and just all these interesting things. No, the classic Sonic stages are great. Stop lowballing it, being like, oh, the physics are a bit different, but you know it's good for what it is. No, they're just actually awesome. Shut your mouth. I'm just kidding. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
I will say I only played the Green Hill and Chemical Plant, and then I went back to Shadow. I will say the drop dash is fun. I like the drop dash in the classic levels. Yeah, I don't know. After I find all those fucking stupid machine parts and chests in Shadow Generations, I'm sure I'll beat it eventually. But for right now, I'm focused on that portion. Speaking of which, Ian? Do we Ian?
I think it's time.
Okay. Jeez, you fucking left me hanging there for like a million years. What is wrong with you? Although I guess we were speaking about Amy before. I guess I should just say I'm sad to announce. I know the audience members expect a certain amount of Shad Amy copium from me in every episode. I got nothing for this one, guys. I can't. I don't know. They didn't give me anything to work with. I thought they'd maybe give me something. They give me nothing. So I take this as a personal slight. But as
Takashi Izuka will hear from my lawyer, but you know.
Yeah. Well, no. The thing is, unfortunately, I did tweet out a few months ago that if Mephiles was in this game, I would forgive everything Sega's ever done. So I guess that includes this.
There you go.
Anyway. Yeah. Where do we want to start?
Well, I guess
I have notes, but they're chaotic. So
I think we should start with gameplay first, because obviously we'll probably go much longer on the story anyway.
Certainly.
And like good, you know, the certain characters who appear. So
yes.
I mean, as far as gameplay goes, like holy crap, like they did it. Like
yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, like the one, I love how long the levels are, and 2, I love that because there's 2 types of branching pathways you can do in Sonic, which is like a game where you have the best path and you need to find the best path, and then one where it's like, oh, you can just like it's just a bunch of different paths and you get to choose your favorite. And that's the one I prefer, because I don't like it when I play a Sonic game and I go, oh, I know exactly how to play this. I just need to do this now and it's over. And I feel like some of the older generation stages did kind of feel like that, where it's like, once you figure out how to do Green Hill, you're not really doing a different way to go through Green Hill, right? But sure. I felt like with these Shadow levels, every time I went through, I wanted to find a different way to go. And I didn't really care if it was longer or shorter, because it just meant more enjoying this world, you know? So I really loved it.
I agree. Yeah, they're great fun. The Act 2s, I remember when I first loaded into that first Act 2, I was like, oh, are we colorsing this? Are we doing it where like the Act 1 is pretty good and then like the rest of it's just like weird filler? But no, like even the challenge levels are fun. Like I genuinely can't think of a thing in this game where I'm like, oh no, that was bad. Where it's like I love Frontiers. I defended Frontiers vehemently during our review of that. There are parts of Frontiers that I wanted to like saw my own arm off during. So like I genuinely can't think of I guess the only thing I would say in this, and it's not really a problem with the game, but because this game feels so much like Frontiers, a lot of times when I needed to like get up to a high place, I found myself being frustrated, because in Frontiers nowadays, if you need to get up to a high place, you can just like use the spin dash. But no, there wasn't really anything. Yeah, the Doom powers are all fun, I will say. I really hope Doom Blast gets brought back. That one was really cool. Also, if Doom Morph does not get turned into like some kind of plushie, what the fuck are you doing, Sega? It's adorable. Like,
no, obviously. Well, and like or like I don't know, just all the Doom powers are just really fun. I especially it's not even a Doom power, but I just really love the use of chaos control, like just going into a room and seeing like, oh, there's like a little green spot over there, and if you conserved your chaos control, you can like skip the whole section of the level, but it doesn't feel like, oh man, I wanted to go through that. It feels like really exhilarating and cool, you know, like you feel like a badass.
Yeah, I did not conserve my chaos control. I used it pretty much as soon as I got it every time, because it didn't so in Sonic Heroes, part of like the tech, I guess, I don't know the terms, but part of like the strategy for like getting A ranks with Team Dark is to like make sure your using your team blast and not just like saving it for like big groups of enemies or whatever, but actually like, and you know, part of the strategy is like, okay, well, you got a time when you use it. You don't want to use it like in front of a door because then if you hit the switch, you got to wait for the team blast to run out anyway. Like it was kind of similar to that in here. Because there were parts of it where it's like you use chaos control, you destroy some enemies in front of a door, and it's like, well, fuck, now I gotta wait for the door to open. Yeah, Bentley agrees with me. But no, you good. But so yeah, no, yeah, the chaos control was cool. The levels were all pretty. The overworld, it was really fun to explore. It I mean, here's the thing, guys. I love Sonic Frontiers. This game eats Sonic Frontiers' lunch, like in every capacity.
Yeah. No, it's so fun.
Yeah. I guess do you have a favorite level or a level that stands out?
So far it's like a so far because I haven't got the chance to dive into these levels as much as a lot of other people who have it. So I'm planning to do that tonight and tomorrow because I have tomorrow off. But so for now it's a 3-way tie between the Ark, Rail Canyon, and Kingdom Valley. I just loved all those levels. I thought they were so good. So.
Oh, I mean, Kingdom Valley. That I got a little emotional when I played Kingdom Valley. Like I remember, like when I saw like the egg gunners and it was just, and like the eagles and like riding on the wind. It was just such a God. I love Sonic 06. And I love this game for loving Sonic 06. Yeah, I really like Kingdom Valley. I really like Sunset Heights. The only negative I would give to Sunset Heights is okay. I am Sonic Forces is a game I have a lot of nostalgia for. And because of that, I am very happy they included it in here. And I'm very happy Sunset Heights is the level they chose to include because that was kind of the level at the center of all of Forces marketing. That being said, holy shit, does that level clash with every other aspect of this game? and it's even worse because that's the level that like Gerald and Maria like hang out next to. So like, you know, when Shadow's having like, emotional moments where he's talking to them, he's doing it in front of like these Toontown ass looking buildings in the background. Yeah, no, those are probably my favorite locales. I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, I don't know. Those are good. All the levels are good. It's also fun. It's an extra fun like mini game to try and like mix and match like the music to figure out like what music goes with what levels.
Yeah, I mean that was in the original generations, but I just so love that you can still decide the music for even the challenge levels. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah, in the original generations, I never found myself doing too much with it, but in this, it's like I'm a big fan of the Avatar levels from, or not. I mean the level themes from Sonic Forces. Like they're some of my favorite Sonic music. Period. And there is like one that is perfect for like every level. Like Park Avenue is perfect for Sunset Heights, obviously, but like Prison Hall is perfect for the Ark, and like Imperial Tower is perfect for Chaos Island. Like there's just, and so it's like doing that was fun. You use like a et cetera, et cetera. So that was like an extra fun like element to it, and same with like the bosses. Yeah, no, good shit. Yeah, no, I like this game. I will say, like, I'm going to get into some shortcomings I thought this game had a little later, but in terms of like the level design and like the levels and like getting you immersed, like, I'm not gonna lie. When I first played the first level and it did that transition from the Ark into Radical Highway, I actually had to like pause the game for a second and just be like, holy, like, because I was just like, this is like everything I've ever wanted from a Sonic game. And
it's like we're really doing it.
Yeah, it's it's great. And like okay, and I guess I should say because again, I love that they brought back a bunch of these different levels. I guess I should cut off any potential criticism like, oh, so nostalgia pandering is okay when it's pandering to your nostalgia. And a few things. First of all, yes. Second of all, the levels all fit well within the story. Again, like the Ark, obviously, and Radical Highway. I love that Radical Highway is the final stage and how it starts with like just a pretty perfect recreation of Radical Highway before like shit gets weird. But also they're levels that we haven't seen 100 times, like Green Hill and Chemical Plant. So it's cool and refreshing and like a warm hug from an old friend to see these again, and not like it's not like your friend from high school keeps coming around to borrow cash.
Well, and I I also think the big thing is, I think we would both still agree, okay, Sonic Team, but for real this time, next game, original levels, please.
Yes.
You know, like, I think, like, that's the thing is, like, sure, like, everything you said is correct, but still, I would have preferred if they were all original levels, like, at the end of the day, right?
I don't know if I agree on that.
Not for the scenario we have of like a Shadow Generations. Obviously, you want them to be callbacks, right? But I mean,
Sure.
like, if this were a Shadow game and it wasn't in the Generations like framework, yeah, give new levels, make new levels, please. You know?
I mean, no, I don't even know if I necessarily agree with that because some new levels certainly. But like in the original Shadow the Hedgehog, I like the fact that you like go back to Prison Island and you go back to the Ark and you go like like I like the callbacks and I like especially
Prison
again,
Island's looking more like Slime Island.
it sure is. But no, again Kingdom Valley like all but brought a tear to my eye. But no, I completely agree. Like yes, hopefully going forward we can get like some more original cool locales. And I mean Superstars did that. So I mean that game is bad, but it at least had that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and also, I think due to like, because I know some people said like, oh, it kind of looks like Radical Highway, and all these levels kind of got washed out. And I'm like, I don't know. I really like their new kind of like vibe and aesthetic. It fits Shadow, you know. So I really liked it. They felt new.
Yeah, I agree. I thought they looked pretty neat. But although speaking of looking, anyone out there who has a Steam Deck, this game runs flawlessly on it. So, yeah, I was playing earlier. I mean, it does. Granted, we shouldn't be surprised. It runs on a fucking Nintendo Switch, so I would hope it runs on a Steam Deck. But no, like it's to 60 frames and everything. Like, I mean, playing on 720 gets to 60 frames, but no, good. Yeah, I will say it's a very good looking game. Also, yeah, I don't know. Let me look at my notes, see if I had any other gameplay points. You got anything?
I do wish. I will say that I do wish that we got the, you know, how in Generations they would have levels where you team up with the Sonic characters. I do think it was a missed opportunity to not make a level where it's like, oh, you team up with Omega or Rouge
or Amy.
But yeah, no, I mean, even Amy or just, I don't know, like a Sonic boss fight, right? So I just felt like they could have integrated the extended cast a little more, but still great. So
yeah, well, the Sonic boss fight or lack thereof was actually pretty funny. Because first of all, God, that Sonic model looks like shit. Like, why did they do that? They have the generation. They reanimated the Generations cutscenes. They have the model. What are you doing? But yeah, no. I mean, I guess I get what they were going for. Sonic wins that fight. He has to win that fight. So either you do a Sonic boss fight and then you do that exact same cutscene afterwards where Shadow goes in for the kill and then he's like, oh, wait, I shouldn't. And then Sonic knocks him one. Or you just don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first option's way better because then you get a boss fight, but you know.
Yeah. But we'll talk about some of the missed potential of boss fights. Actually, I guess we could do that now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought so I know there's a hard mode for the boss fights, right?
Yes.
Okay. I might need to play those because I think those would make all the boss fights more fun. I liked the BioLizard and Metal Overlord one, and Mephiles was like okay, but I feel like if he had more damage or like health points, I would enjoy him more. And so I think like the extra hard might make that more enjoyable for me, including the final boss.
The Mephiles boss is much better on the hard, I will say, because of course that was the one I had to go to in S rank first. But
okay, good. So I'll look into that.
Yeah. It's funny. So, little story, folks. I woke up at 4 a.m. the day this game came out. I don't know why. I went to bed at like 10 o'clock. I was like, I took a vacation day for it because I'm an adult and I can take vacation days for video games. Shut up, mom.
I do it too.
But I was like, yep, I'll wake up bright and early the next morning and I'll play Shadow Generations because I had the option of like, oh, either I stay up until 11 my time or I do that. And I was like, at 11, I'll be too sleepy. I won't be able to really enjoy it. So I'll just go to bed early, get up early. And I guess my brain was like, hey, get up, fucker. Like, this is not sleep time. This is shadow time. So I was up at like 4 a.m. And then, I played the game. I had it beat by like lunchtime because I was up at 4 a.m. And I later that night, I was still playing it, obviously. I was like, oh, I'll just throw OBS on and get the recording done that'll go behind the review. And audience, watch very closely for when I go to attempt the hard mode BioLizard fight and see if you can pinpoint the exact moment I went, nope, I'm too retired for this and quit. Because it's in there. But yeah, no. So I haven't done the hard modes for the other bosses yet. Right now I'm trying to get the collectibles and trying to S rank all of the normal missions. But yeah, I think BioLizard was cool. Although why is the song wrong? Did you notice that?
Thank you. Yeah, where are the lyrics?
Yeah, they like the version they had in that trailer is so fucking cool, and I was like, oh, I can't wait for the game to come out so we can get the full version. And it's just not there.
Yeah, that made me mad. That actually, like, it didn't ruin the fight, but it killed the vibe. I was like, what the fuck? When's he gonna say? And it didn't happen.
Yeah. Like, and I checked my settings. I was like, is there an option to like turn vocals off for like better immersion? And it's like, no, it's just they just put the wrong one in there.
Yes, they got to put the original back in.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, or just release the fucking. Where's the song? Like they made the song. The song exists. Where is it? Speaking of which, I guess that song that they made for Dark Beginning was just for Dark Beginnings because it wasn't in this fucking game. Yeah, no. The Metal Overlord fight was cool, although apparently the What I'm Made Of that plays there is a remix. It sounded the exact same to me.
I know. Yeah.
Obviously, Mephiles. We'll talk about him. Look, audience. I'm going to spend like 20 minutes talking about Mephiles, but we got to get past some other stuff first. I will let you. Yeah. BioLizard was cool. The final boss is fine.
I think the second half's really fun, where you're flying around and like the music's blaring all hell shadow.
Yeah, but they should have used a different song or made an actual real remix of All Hail Shadow, not just taking like almost 20-year-old lyrics and throwing it over like some orchestra.
True, but I thought it was cool.
It is cool, but it's just like you know the version of it that plays like when you kill Black Doom, like that triumphant like orchestral one. Just do that. Just make the whole version that like you know the like you know in Sonic 06 during like the cool cutscenes with Mephiles, like in Flame Core or during the end, how it plays like the orchestral like bit of All Hail Shadow. Yeah. Just make a whole song of that. I mean, someone has. It's on YouTube. It's great. Go listen to it. But point being, but I mean, again, good thing is, you can change the music. So when I was trying and failing to S rank that final boss, I just changed it to I Am All of Me. So good shit. But yeah, and then I guess we should also say, pour one out for Infinite, guys.
I know everyone was so sure he was going to be here, and I was too.
I was pretty sure. Yeah, well, it's so funny because you can tell what happened was they were like, okay, guys, we're making a Shadow game. Who are Shadow's villains? Okay, we got Black Doom. We got Mephiles. We got,
Ian Flynn raised his hand and he was like, Infinite? And he got tossed out of the room.
Well, I guess that's the funny thing, right? It's like, I guess technically Infinite never fought Shadow, quote unquote. But like Shadow's literally his whole reason for existing. Like, I guess, but they're like, Metal Overlord. Like, which like, look, in my opinion, again, because I have nostalgia for Forces, I would have preferred Infinite, but I also am able to understand I'm in the vast minority there.
Yeah.
So whatevs. I will say though, when Infinite inevitably gets modded into this as a playable character, that's going to go hard. The Doom powers are going to look so cool on him. But speaking of which, whenever if we could just get on a silver mod for this game, that'd be cool. He's probably got some Black Arms DNA in him anyway. It's fine. We can just throw him in there, guys. Please. Anyway, okay. Do I talk about Mephiles now, or do we go into the store and then talk about Mephiles?
You have to save Mephiles for the end, so we end on a high note.
Okay. I'm trying to think if there's any other gameplay points. I
mean, I just want to. All I really want to say is that I had my own 4 a.m. story. Not a joke.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
go on.
What happened is I stayed up to. I think this will be the biggest praise I can give the game because I really did like it. But I just haven't had the time to go in depth with these levels because I just haven't had the chance. So I apologize that I really like it, but I can't say much. So this is the best I can give it. Is that
how dare you be an adult with a job and a life, Ian?
Fuck you. Hold me to a lower standard, okay? But no. So I played the game at 11 when it launched in my time zone anyway. And then I stayed up till around 12 and I went to bed. And then genuinely, I woke up at 4 a.m. and I was like, shit, Shadow the Hedgehog. And so I got out of my bed, unplugged my fan, plugged in my TV, and I started playing it. And I got halfway through the game.
Dude, did we have like a psychic link?
Dude, which now what we have to find out is who is the hero story and who's the dark story.
Can I be hero? I'm usually the positive one. I feel like
you can be hero. I'd prefer to be dark, because then I can be Mephiles.
But then I can be silver.
Yeah, let's go.
Yes. Anyway,
we figured it out. But yeah, that's the biggest compliment I can give it, is that I forgone sleep so that I could play more Shadow in Sonic X Shadow Generations.
okay,
it's really good.
But what the audience doesn't know is you did do the same thing for Sonic Frontiers.
Yes, but I regretted that immediately. So, well, and actually, that is different, because for that one, I just binged it all in one night or whatever. But for this, I stopped to be an adult, and I was so in love with it that I went back. Whereas if I did that for Frontiers, I would have been like, man, fuck. So it's very good. So, but yeah, that's those are my thoughts.
I should say it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to realize that the overworld was meant to be designed like a clock tower.
It's very cool.
It's very cool, but I was just like, yeah, I guess these look like some weird old buildings. And it wasn't until I was going into the tunnel to fight Mephiles and you hear the clock ticking that I was like, oh, fuck, it's a clock tower.
By the way, not to get into Mephiles, but it's very cool. He gets his own underground section to keep him hidden.
Oh, it's so cool. But yeah, no, like, because I remember when I was playing it, I was thinking like, oh man, this really reminds me of that one section of Rooftop Run. And I was like, no, Ace, you're just being a stupid brain poison Sonic fan. You know that one section of Rooftop Run where you're in a clock tower?
You were right.
I was right. But
right. But yeah, you want to jump into the story?
Yes. So, Ian, I'm curious if you'll agree with me on this.
Okay.
I would not call this story bad. I would, however, call it undercooked.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I have a perfect way to explain it. This is what they did for Sonic Frontiers, what they were trying to do with those characters, but good. Which is they have created, because think about it, with Frontiers, what they did was they decided, let's have the characters reflect on their past, and then basically like through the moment that in time that they're in, that pushes them to either redefine themselves or reestablish what makes them, valuable. So then we're making all these callbacks. We're kind of reminding the audience. And so it's about like strengthening their resolve based on like making this history relevant again. That is literally what is happening here. Shadow does not have an arc. He does not have a narrative that he's going through in terms of, well, he has a narrative, but he doesn't have an arc he's going through. It is that Shadow is being forced to confront his past again. And then because we're getting to spend time with like Maria and Shadow in real time, seeing their reactions, seeing the really good character animation, it makes you go, oh, now I have more context for like the character of Shadow, who unfortunately has to live with tragedy, is not able to bring back the people he loves, but he's steadfast and strong, and he will fight to, for Maria's sake and for his own sake. But now that's what the story is. It's basically, just like Frontiers, we're kind of circling back to what made these characters really good, reminding you, and then having the characters take that and be like, now I'm going to be stronger for it. Am I wrong?
You're not. No, you are wrong. You're completely wrong, actually. So they tease an arc. They try to lie to you and say there's an arc. Because Shadow's like, at the end, he's like, I will no longer fight with anger in my heart. I'll fight for your wish, Maria. But it's like, wait, was that a thing? Was there a problem with him fighting with anger in his heart? And like, I guess he looked kind of grumpy throughout the game. But like, They at the beginning they have this bit where he's like, oh well, maybe I could change their fate, and then that never comes up except for an optional dialogue you can have in the overworld with Gerald, where he's like, I know you might be thinking about changing the future, but you shouldn't do it, Shadow. And then at the
I was gonna bring that up too. Yeah, you go ahead.
Just everything about this and about Shadow. So it's like, okay. And again, like I made sure to go back and rewatch all the cutscenes before we hopped on here. It's like, Maria and him, I don't feel anything for like their connection. Like if you told me like, oh yeah, these two are like the most important people in the world to each other, I'd be like, I mean, I guess. Like,
well, bro, Here's the thing. I agree with all your complaints. I'm just saying that them actually emoting and like getting to spend longer than just like, wow, we're in a field. Look at that rock on the ground, Sonic. Doesn't that remind you of love? Is way. This is way better than that.
I don't know if I agree.
Yeah, but you like Frontiers, and you're wrong.
I do like Frontiers, and I am often wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong about it. I think, yes, the story is objectively presented better. The animations are better.
Boo, he said objectively. Fuck him.
I can leave. I mean, I don't have to be. But no. But like,
I'm just messing with you.
I know. But so, Ian, I don't know if you remember this, but back when we reviewed Sonic Frontiers 2 years ago, you asked me, because I was saying like, oh, I love the story and I love how like the characters are all reflecting and like diving deep into like their emotions and their pathos. And you made a joke of like, so what, do you just want like a podcast where the characters sit around discussing their feelings? And after saying this, I think I can officially say the answer is, yeah, kind of. Like,
how so?
You know, yeah, like, come again?
How so? Like, in what way do you think like this solidifies that for you?
Because again, how much better would this have been if we just had like, so you know that like what if scene we get at the end of Dark Beginnings where Shadow and Maria are like sitting in a field and they're like, and I don't know if you saw the extra scene that was PlayStation exclusive, but yeah, like, you know, what if we got a scene like that in this where Shadow gets out of fucking like a flame core, that's not in this game, Chaos Island, whatever, some level, and Maria's like, hey, come sit with me for a second. And like, he's like, no, I can't, I got shit to do. He's like, no, just come sit with me. And like, they sit and they watch the water and they just have like a talk. She's like, so tell me, like, what are you up to? And he's like, oh, well, save the world a couple times. Like just let them like have a conversation.
Yeah, you're saying like, maybe Maria could not be like a special little fairy angel for like 5 seconds and be like a human. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I would like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I mean, I wanted to start with positives before I bitch, but you're like, no, I want to start with bitching. So this is my wheelhouse.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Like again, I understand what this game's going for, but I don't know if you agree, but I think my feeling towards the ending when Shadow, he runs off and the tear flies away is, oh, that sucks for Shadow. And then it ends and I went, yeah, good game. And that was it.
Yeah. No, I agree completely.
And like, that's not bad. You came away from it, be like, oh, you know what? That sucks for Shadow, But like the way I said that does not come across as like, wow, I love Shadow. And if you have all these feelings for him, it comes more across as like you hear like someone comes in, they say, my grandma's sick. And you go, oh, I'm sorry about that. No, yeah, that sucks to hear. I'll pray for him or, whatever you want to say. Right. Or I'll think about him. That's the level I'm on with Shadow by the end is like, oh man, that sucks, Shadow. And I don't think the game wants you to feel that, obviously, especially if you really love Shadow. So that the thing that this story I think is lacking is for at the very end, right? He says like, oh, I'll go get the Chaos Emerald and like stop time. And then Maria's like, oh no, don't do that. And he's like, fuck. Okay, fine. And he leaves, right? But that's different than if he had the Chaos Emerald there, or if we had built up like his secret plan is he's going to bring them back, right? Or there was a temptation. Instead, it's just kind of like a minor moment where he has this little thought, and then Maria, as she does, calms him down and keeps him there. And again, that's what the game is going for, is the idea of like these Doom powers are bringing back his past, right, of Black Doom, and that is making Shadow obviously more consumed by anger and rage, and he's got all these literally demon powers that are like ripping out of his body and stuff. And then meanwhile, the past is also back in the form of Maria to keep him on track, right? So that's the idea we're going for. We're trying to explain to the audience or get them invested in this idea of like the thing that keeps Shadow on the right path is his love for Maria, and also just who he is as a person, right? But he needs her back in this moment because his past is coming back. And I feel like what the story is missing is it doesn't have a conflict for Shadow to overcome outside of that. It's just he is very passive during all this.
Certainly.
And if you care about, and passive characters can be fine. Oftentimes the way you can like feel for someone is the idea of like something bad really happens to them, But usually what makes you invested in them, but usually that makes you then feel bad in the sense of like, yeah, you feel bad for them, but you're not like coming from a perspective of like, as a character, that makes me want to root for them, or I am rooting for them. You're just like, wow, I hope they get out of that. And that's kind of how I felt for for Shadow for most of this game, where it's like when he smiles at Maria, I was like, oh, that's really nice. Like, and he's also kind of like trying to smile, which makes it really cute. There's also the really nice moment where he first sees Maria and she hugs him, and he kind of keeps his arms out because he's not really sure how to like deal with this right now. And he's like, okay, I'm going to focus on the mission. So there is body language, there is storytelling being told of these characters. There's things that if you love Shadow or Game Shadow, which a lot of people really do, then that probably really hits for you. That probably makes you go like, wow, I'm getting to actually like see it. You know, this relationship between him and Maria that was just kind of implied a lot of times, or you see in like Sonic Channel things. I'm getting to see how does this Shadow kind of react to that, and how does he slowly come to basically like, no, I'm not gonna fall to darkness again. I'm gonna stick by my light and like, you know, overcome or whatever. And then when he gets screwed over in the end, you're like, yep, that's Shadow. But you know what? In the end, like he still presses on, right? And that's how you feel. But that's not a story for a new story for Shadow. That's just, again, reminding you of what already exists and just giving you more content for that, you know? So I think what would have created a really good conflict is they either one, have Shadow like always plan that he wants to bring them back, and then he has to make the choice like right then and there to not do it, you know? Or two, maybe give Maria a little bit of an arc. Because if we recall, this is not like Maria after she died or like right before she died. This is a Maria who is like, oh, Shadow, why are you so grumpy? You know, why are you so different? So what if Maria, we tell a story about like, what was Maria doing before she came here? What were her and Shadow like up to? Maybe they were like, I don't know, playing tag on the Ark, or they were studying. Or if you want some conflict, we always see Maria as like this perfect angel that Shadow really loves. What if they actually were getting, maybe in the where she came from, they actually had an argument and maybe they weren't talking to each other at the moment? Again, Shadow's not going to remember in this because he's going to remember all the good times. But maybe like they had an argument. She's like, oh, did I make Shadow mad? Does he hate me? Like, what's going on? Why is he acting this way? And then Shadow isn't communicating because he's like, I don't want her to know that like she dies or all these things, or I'm trying to keep her at bay. So then you'd have this clashing situation, and then maybe they could come together. Maybe Maria could show that she's really clever. She's smart, just like her family, like her, you know, Robotnik or Gerald or whatever. Or maybe she, you know, tries to tell a joke that she always told, and Shadow remembers like, oh, she is kind of funny and quirky and stuff, you know. But instead, she's just the angel girl, you know. She is no different from how Shadow remembers her, which is that she's always really kind, or she's doing all these big gestures. She is the same moment to moment like that as she is in those flashbacks. You know, in Dark Beginning, she's always hugging him, she's always giving him words of encouragement. Meanwhile, I think actually the most characterization you get for her, the moment I did actually like her, is reading the diary, where there's an image of her like reading a book to Abe, or like she comes onto the Ark and she's like, peace, and she's like trying to like look really like, you know, it's like, oh, thanks for having me, guys, and she's like literally like her skin and like she's like skin and bones or whatever, but like that gives this idea of like she's trying to act tough, you know, whereas like the way she acts in the game is like, oh, I'm very put together, right? Or like I'm just, you know, this angel who has these good things. So anyway, I talked for a really long time, but those are kind of like just different ways I think the story could have given it more meat. As it is, it's just kind of like fan service, you know?
I'm just going to say it. Maria in this and Sage are about equal. And anyone who disagrees, you're only disagreeing because it's Maria. Don't you lie to me. Thank you, Ian. No, I like look, it's, and that's, oh god, I have so many thoughts. I'm trying to straighten them out. Okay, so yeah, I think you just needed like a couple more. Like you talked about, like Shadow's barely a character in this. Like, I really liked Sonic's characterization in Frontiers. I really like this idea that like he's this rock that everyone kind of rests on, and so he's like literally fucking dying of cyber corruption. But he's like putting on this brave face, and he's, you know, trying to help everyone else through their problems. And, you know, Ian, you and a lot of people say like, oh, well, that's boring. You know, he's just like a good guy now. But I don't know. I think that's an interesting kind of angle, again, of like, he's this kind of center that everyone rests on. And like, but like you look into his psyche, he's like, I'm fucking dying. Like, I love the line where he's like, where Tails like, be careful. And Sonic's like, be careful. Where's the fun in that? And you could see like, no, this is taking a toll on him. Like,
Or like when he says something really nice to Tails, and then Tails kind of blips away, and then when he's not looking, he's like, oh shit, fuck, oh my arm, oh god, you know, like he's trying to keep it together.
Yeah, whereas Shadow in this, like, again, like, so you have that bit where Black Doom comes out of nowhere, and he's like, and then Shadow's suddenly his eyes get all glowy. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill everyone. And then Maria's like, no, don't kill everyone. What if you expand a bit more on that, where like, what if that moment happened earlier and Maria was like kind of recoiled, and Shadow has to deal with this idea of like, you know, I've supposedly been fighting for Maria all this time, but am I really? Or do I just fight because I'm a violent because I'm a killing machine, because that's what I was made to do, or because I'm just a violent person. Like, can I even blame my genetics for this? Like, I claim I want to be this person Maria be proud of. I'm someone Maria's scared of. What does that make me? Or like, just what, again, I think this story was so close. I think you just needed a couple more cutscenes and you would have hit the nail right on the head. I think also, again, you needed to do something with Shadow's whole maybe I could change their fate thing, because like, why is that line even in there? Like, because it doesn't.
It's very passive, because he doesn't actually
really
think. Yeah,
like, and and again, like, what something you never want to do when you're critiquing media is just write fan fiction and hold it up and say, why didn't the media do my fan fiction? Hey, let's talk about some of my fan fiction and why the media should have done it. So
let's go.
Okay. I don't think you would have had to change the story very much at all. I think here's what you do. Morgan, here's what you could do. I'm not going to claim this is the right thing to do or anything. You move the Emerald getting up a bit. So, because why does he have the Chaos Emerald? I guess, is it implied he needs it to do the freeze time thing?
I mean, he has it from Dark Beginning. Well, so the reason he has it is because in Generations he has it when you fight him. So
right.
Flynn is like, oh, he probably just had it on him. So there you go. That's why he has it.
Sure, but why does he have to do the whole, like, why is it imperative that Sonic have the fake emerald and Shadow have the real emerald? Like, what's Shadow using it for?
Well, Shadow's using it, I think, to do Chaos Control.
But he can do Chaos Control without a Chaos Emerald.
Silver, Ace, stop.
Point it. Okay, so you move it up a bit. You have, maybe before Chaos Island, maybe whenever, Rouge comes to Shadow. She's like, hey, I need the emerald. Like, shit's going down. I need the emerald. And Shadow, at this point, maybe we had the scene where him and Maria sit and watch the water earlier, and he's really thinking like, no, I have my family back. I love these people. Like, I'll never let them go again. And you basically have Shadow go like, you can have this emerald when you pry it from my cold dead hands. Like, no, I'll beat Black Doom, because Black Doom's a dickhead and he's gonna fuck shit up. But no, Sonic's not getting this emerald. He's not fixing this. I'm not letting my family die again.
Oh, so what you're saying is like, have a different reason that, just let him use. I mean, the reason I said stop is that, it doesn't make any sense. They're always going to change this shit, obviously. But you're saying, like, write it in a way to where the way it works is that he can use Chaos Control to stop time or whatever. And then he gets the emerald in the fight with Sonic or whatever. And then, like, maybe he does switch it out or whatever. And he's, but, like, the point is, like, make that, instead of that being like, oh, this happens in Generations, so we have to, like, have it in our story, make it a character moment, Yeah.
Well, I'm saying, like, you have the switch out, and then Rouge comes to him. But, like, because in the game, Rouge comes to him literally at the very end of the game. Hey, I need the emerald. He's like, all right, here you go. Let's say that happens, like, I don't know, like
yes.
So Rouge comes to get the emerald, like, 75% of the way through the story after Shadow spent some time with Maria. And he's like, no, Sonic can get bent. He has the fake emerald. He's not.
he'll manage. He did it before.
Or he won't manage, and he won't fix this, and I won't let him fix this, like, because I'm not letting my family die. And then you get, like, maybe like a cool Team Dark boss fight where Rouge and Omega are like, dude, like, I get it, and I'm sorry, but, like, you can't do this. We can't let you do this. And then they fight. You get a cool boss fight out of it. And then, maybe because and you could justify it saying, oh, maybe the Doom powers are corrupting his mind a bit, so he goes a bit too far. He, like, fucks up Omega a bit too hard or whatever. And then you have Maria come, because, again, Maria, the quote-unquote only person who can talk Shadow down, comes and is like, hey, stop fighting your friends. Like, whatever needs, like, you need to let us go, or, like, whatever knowledge you want to maybe impart onto her, of, like, the idea is, like, she knows he's doing this for her, and she does not want him to do it for her. She does not want him to lose himself for her. And so this is, you get a moment for her being like, no, do this. Like, give her the emerald. And then, boom, Shadow has to let them die. And it's a million times more impactful because you see that, like, and also, Sega's constantly going on about how, like, oh no, Shadow's not a good guy. Shadow's like this weird, chaotic, neutral guy who, like, he does good stuff sometimes, he does bad stuff sometimes. He just does what he thinks is what he wants to do, man. Which ultimately has only ever amounted to, he's a good guy, but he's kind of grumpy about it and annoying.
He's kind of stupid.
Yeah. So this is a moment for him to actually have, like, to actually be the character Sega says he is, where he's, like, doing this, like, quote unquote bad thing because it's what I don't know. Just, like,
so
that.
Go ahead.
Go on. Go. I talked for a long time. Just go.
No, you're good. I talked for way longer, so it's all good. No, but I guess to build off that, I wanted to go a pivot in a different direction, which is that. So you're talking about like, what if he's really possessive over Maria, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Well, the whole idea at the end of Shadow the Hedgehog is that he finally gets to end his past. He has no more things tying him down. And the end of that game is he says like, goodbye forever, Shadow the Hedgehog, and he tosses away a picture of Maria and Gerald, right? Now, obviously, this does not mean he hates them or that, blah, blah, blah. But it very much seems to be like this is supposed to be the idea of like Shadow is doing his part or is going to do things the way he wants to do them without like tying each of his actions back to these things from his past. Like, I guess in a way it's like, maybe, Shadow wanted to save the world before because of Maria. Now he might want to save the world just because he feels like it that day. Like that's kind of the idea it's going for, right? And people a lot of times point to Sonic 06 as the idea of like, oh, he's still fulfilling Maria's wish. But kind of the fun thing about that is he doesn't mention Maria ever in that game. He not a single time. So the actual idea I think they're going for is not that he's doing it for Maria, but more so that obviously he still cares about Maria, but he is just, like he says, I am going to fight like I always will, which means I'm going to do what I think is right, right? Now, that has been informed by Maria, or that has been informed by his past, but no longer is it like a symbol in his life in the same way, like, it's a difference between like Superman believes in like a code of doing good, right? Or Batman does, right? But Luffy from like One Piece does not have any such code. He goes off vibes, Yeah. Luffy is a good person and he will do good because he is good natured, but he does not see himself as a hero or that he is doing good. And this is also what people say about Sonic and what they like about Sonic. So Shadow is no longer has a code of I'm doing this for Maria, if we want to use that example. Now he's just doing it because the vibe is I want to help people or I want to fuck them over, right? That's what Shadow is. So if that's the case, if he were confronted with Maria and Gerald, maybe actually he doesn't like them anymore. Not like he hates them, but he's like, oh shit, they're back. And now I have to confront feelings. No. So what if he starts telling himself like he is starting to be cold to Maria? And not like a lashing out kind of way, but maybe it becomes that, right? But maybe he's just like, yeah, you stay there, young lady. Like he's not trying to interact with them. And the more they actually do try to interact with them, the more that he feels like he's betraying himself. Like he's like, no, like they will disappear. They are figments. I'm not going to treat them like people, even though it is them, it's literally them. Mm-hmm. But he's like, he's not, I'm not going to do that. And so maybe the idea is like, actually he does come to appreciate them more or something like that. Like, again, maybe, you go through an arc like that where like, it's not to take away what happened at the end of Shadow, but kind of saying like, what would Shadow do? This version of him who wants to be completely independent. Now he sees it right in front of him and he can't deal with those feelings. How does he treat her? And that could be really compelling and really heartbreaking. And so I think like that those are two angles where it's like that's a character thing for Shadow to go through. Whereas the way he is now, I think our only point is he's way too passive, which makes it just kind of feel like, man, that sucks, Shadow. I hope you feel better, buddy. And again, not even like condescendingly, but just like that's the deepest emotion I could feel. And I'm sure a lot of people, when they saw the ending, like it really got them. Maybe it really stuck with them. Maybe they thought about it for a really long time. But it's very sad to me that I've watched a bunch of YouTubers who are really excited for this game, like just like so excited, and they love the game too. They love the gameplay. They're hyping it up. Oh, they can't stop talking about it. But every time I've watched their gameplay reactions, what they do at the end, when I get to the end where he runs off with Maria, there are either two reactions. One, oh, no, that got me. And then like the credits roll and they go, that was a good game. Or their reaction is, oh, that was good. And that's it. Yeah. I've not seen anyone like walk away from this game destroyed, because the game doesn't leave you on a like triumphant note or like a dark note. Like in SA2, when you really sit with the fact that Shadow is gone, the music's swelling, all the characters are kind of reflecting, the text is just scrolling by, we're just watching the arc in space. It's not sitting on anything. So again, the most you can really feel is like, oh fuck, man. Well, that sucks. Yeah. So that's kind of my overall part with Shadow's aspect of the story, and just kind of the story in general is like, I do think it is a better version of what they were going for with Frontiers. Obviously, I understand the reasons you like it, but for this idea of like coming back to the, I guess the biggest insult I can give actually the story is that this is made for people like me who don't like Game Shadow. which is that they decided, okay, since you didn't like connect with the fact of like an abstract Maria and like their past relationship, we're gonna make it crystal fucking clear how they interact. They're gonna smile at each other. They're gonna hold hands. Do you like that little baby Ian? Do you need your hand hold? Do you like this story? I'm like, yes, thank you. I am a big baby. Please make me like this character. I fucking don't care. And so I walked away from the story going, man, I went from not caring about Shadow one bit to, man, that sucks for Shadow. I liked it when he smiled. I felt something. Cool for you.
Yeah.
So, you know, in that way, that's why I really like it. In the other way, though, I do think that's what kind of holds the story back. Once again, we have kind of reached, whether you agree that they're the same as Frontiers, we have reached the same conclusion that I had for that game, which I think you would agree with, at least for this one, which is that, yeah, we kind of just had an arc that circled around on itself, and we're going to be good next time.
Well, that's the thing, right? And with Frontiers, where I don't know, I guess you could say I bought the bullshit in Frontiers, where I was like, oh yeah, Knuckles does want to get away from his island. No, Tails does want to be more independent, and Amy does want to spread her love with the world, whatever that means. With this, Shadow, because what does Shadow say at the end of this game? He says, I will no longer fight with anger. I will fight with love in my heart. I will fight with your love in my heart. So, presumably, that would mean that going forward, we would see a softer Shadow, a kinder Shadow. You know, a Shadow maybe more akin to like what we see in Archie or what we see on Tumblr. I don't know. But we're not. He's a static character. He's going to be the exact same the next time we see him as he always is. So it's like, so what was the point? Like,
I'm interested though. What do you think about like Frontiers? Really, kind of like, what's the secret ingredient that made that stick with you? Even if, you know, maybe they will revert, right? What is it about that stuck with you? But where in this game you're just like, don't you fucking lie to me, you rat bastard.
I think there's a couple things. First of all, let's all be honest here. All of us Sonic Frontiers fans, we need to be honest. We were grading on a curve. Like we had just come off of Pontac and Graph. We had just come up and we were finally getting a story that was at the very least a story. It was at the very least trying to have an arc for its characters. Sonic felt like a character, whether or not you like what they were going for with him. He felt like a character. He felt like a protagonist who was connecting with each of his friends on an emotional level of some kind. And it's like, yeah, you know that thing that stories are supposed to do? So I won't lie and say that's not a part of it. And now it's like, okay, well, yeah, we got that, and that's good, but like, can we do better now? But also, I don't
feel like this does better, you would say.
I certainly don't think this does better. Yeah, go ahead. I guess I would just say, I don't know. I think first of all, I don't know. Maybe Sonic was the key ingredient, because again, I really like Sonic's characterization in Sonic Frontiers, and I don't care for. I think Shadow's characterization is fine. It's fine. It's not
actually. I'll ask you: have you ever loved Shadow? Like, has he ever been like one of your favorite Sonic characters?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
I didn't know if you were like kind of passive towards him. If it's like, it's Shadow. He's the big fan favorite, but fuck you, I love Silver.
Yeah. Fuck you, I do love Silver, but no. I mean, here's the thing: when you're a young Sonic fan, you love Shadow because he looks cool. You're like, oh, he's got black and red, and he uses guns, and there's a time when, like, during my earliest days of the Sonic fandom, I would have said Shadow was my favorite character, again, because he looked cool. And then there was a time when I would have told you Shadow and Silver were tied for my favorite character.
And I would beat that younger me senselessly now.
Oh yeah, I would. But but no. And obviously I love Archie Shadow, and I love 06 Shadow. And I like his his little arc in SA2. Like in SA2. Like one of my favorite scenes in the entire Sonic franchise, and it's a very underrated scene, or it's a scene you don't really hear talked about, is the scene one of my favorite Shadow lines ever is just troublemaker, where he goes to help Rouge. I love that scene. I again, I haven't cared for Shadow in IDW. I think he's whatever in more recent adaptation. I think he's awful in Boom, but that's a whole other thing. That's whatever. And in this version of Shadow he's not IDW Shadow. He's not actively annoying me, but he's just there. And it's like, that's not enough. Being there is not enough,
No,
Yeah, and again, I think you just needed a couple more cutscenes. You just needed a couple more things that really delved into how he's feeling about this, how he's processing this, his interactions with Maria, his interactions with these situations. And they just didn't have that. Like, and so
yeah, bro, I did not think we'd be coming into this conversation as me as the more positive one. It never happens.
It never happens. Like, again, and the thing is, like, those scenes with Maria, like right before the final battle or at the very end where he has to say goodbye, I like those scenes. Those scenes are good in a vacuum, and they're good for. And obviously I know Shadow and Maria. I've been a Sonic fan for a long time now. So it's like, oh yeah, that's good. Those are good scenes. But like in the context of the game, it's like, did you really earn this? Like, and even it's very similar to the scene they do in Archie, where he has to say goodbye to Maria, and that scene, without fail, always makes me misty-eyed, always gets me choked up.
Which is crazy, considering that Shadow has even less connection to Maria.
That's very true.
In fact, he has like 0.5% connection to her.
Yeah, and
because he died as soon as she died as soon as he was born.
That's very true.
But I mean, I would agree because people are. Oh, sorry, I'll let you finish. But yeah, people are making the comparison. So I'm glad you brought this up. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, that scene brings a tear to my eye, makes me choked up. This scene is like you said, it's like, oh, that's sad. Like, oh, this is a well done scene. This is well directed. Like, the animations are good. Like, Shadow's facial animations are good. Like, damn, like that sucks. Anyway, like,
yeah, I think what it is that Archie's scene is like a sucker punch because you're not expecting it, because the idea is he's just getting the thing so he can get his memories, right? So he go, or not his memories, his purpose, because he doesn't have amnesia. So he's like, what is my purpose? So he gets in there, he's like, oh, hi, like it's Maria, and she's like, hey, what's up? And he's like, hello, like he feels really like genuine, and you're like, oh my gosh. And it especially works really well because that Shadow has been so aggressive and so angry and so violent. So seeing him kind of like break character, if that makes sense, like it really hits, because you're like, oh shit, like it's really getting to him. And so he's like, okay, but I need to know my past. So he learns needs to know my purpose. So he finds his purpose. You need to like fight and protect the world. And then meanwhile, the imagery of like, it's not just like, oh, they fade to white, right? No, the white of the page is fading into the panels, and like pieces of it are ripping apart. So it's like becoming a blank page, which you are reading like physically, or like, you're looking at, and you're like, oh, this is like a comic, So it's, like the pages are fading and there's like holes in them and stuff. So that's a really like powerful image too. But then what I really like is the idea of like, he learns his purpose and he's like, well, shit, I got my purpose, but like, fuck, Maria's right here. What do I do about that? And so he's like, and so it's really nice because he's like, I just came here to learn who I was, but I don't want to leave Maria again. This sucks. And so then like when Maria tells him like, hey, Shadow, like now you have to go fulfill your purpose. You got to go protect everybody, and you always have me if you hold. And then he finishes, if I hold you in my heart, which she said 5 minutes ago, basically. So it's the idea of like, he comes in, just says one little thing. It's like, oh yeah, of course, we'll never be apart. And then he's like, yeah, if I hold you in my heart, goodbye, Maria. Then he runs away, and it really hits. Like, even just thinking about it, I'm like, oh shit, it's really good. So I think it's just, again, so that one's just like a sucker punch. It's the idea, and Shadow's being passive in that too, is he not? But like the reason it works is that is actually a new trajectory for his character. He is finding his purpose, but now he's finding the heart behind the purpose, which is that his friend believes in him, right? Or not even his friend, just this person who really cared about him and is like even now trying to comfort him. So there's a lot of power with that. If anything, I would say the reason it has power is that it's using the same trick that SA2 used, which is that Maria's not a character. Maria is just like a representation, or is just like kind of this thing from his past. Because the more you make her a character, the more you're going, why is she not a character? Which is kind of what this does. But if she's just like visages, just this little ethereal being in the past, then that gives it weight, because obviously, that's not what makes up a whole person. So these are the things that are precious to Shadow. Or in the case of Archie, it's like, this is kind of like an amalgamation of Maria. It's made from the journal. And even in this amalgamation, she's still trying to comfort him, right? Because she's not freaking out when she's disappearing, because she's like, yeah, I know I'm in a digital thing, I guess. Like, it's supposed to be this weird, scenario. So when Shadow comes out and he's like, okay, I know who I am now. I was made with love, bitch. Get out of here, Egg Lobster. Get out of here, Sniffly. Have your stupid fucking hair, Like, you feel like the feeling I get for Shadow in that scene is like, aw, good for Shadow. He's finally happy, you know? And that works too, because Shadow is not the protagonist of Archie Sonic. He is like a D tier side character. So again, the weight of the story is not like on his shoulders. The idea is that, oh, now Shadow is a new direction and you feel really bad for him. And again, the stakes are lower because he's a side character. Literally, the issue ends with him being like, well, anyway, is Fiona fucking Scourge or not? Like, you know, like we move on. So it's just the context of all that just works so much better. Whereas the story is Shadow. It is focus on this. We really need to like feel this or whatever. It's not a surprise emotional moment. It's, I guess, if anything, you see the wind up coming. Of course, he's not going to be able to take them with him. And because there's no character drama of like, okay, but how's he going to come to that conclusion? You're just like, okay, when's the point where they're going to vanish? And that's going to be really sad. Right. Because you're not waiting. Because again, it's not the idea of it being surprising. Of course, he's not going to bring them back, right? But the point is that like when you watch Batman in a fight, right, you're not wondering, is Batman going to win? You're wondering, how is Batman going to win, right? And if the story's done its job, you shouldn't be able to come up with that. Or if you do come up with it, you feel smart about it, right? And so the way this story works is not that you go, how is Shadow going to decide that he's not going to save Maria? You go, man, it's going to suck when Shadow realizes he can't save Maria, you know? And that is different, you know? And I think that's just where it's, again, the story does the emotions it wants to do. And I think it does it well enough that you go, you know, you feel something, but you don't feel something, if that makes any sense.
Right. Well, and again, I think that's why again, I like I said, I would not call this story. And by the way, I guess I should say, I really like this game. But I like it's undercooked. It needed more. It needed another one or two cutscenes. It needed something like that. And I think because also we have to keep in mind that it's coming off the back of Dark Beginnings, which obviously most people who play this game have not watched Dark Beginnings. That is something that is for Sonic fans. But like Dark Beginnings, like teed you up to just knock it out of the park. I mean, Ian, we just talked about it a couple weeks ago when I sounded like a weird, gross monster. That show made me genuinely question: are they going to bring back Maria? Like, and of course, all reasonable parts of me were like, no. But there was a part of me that was like, maybe they bring back Maria.
Because you bought into the lie, which is any story, which is like, oh, these characters are real. They feel real, you know? Which is what a story should do. And that did make me, like, when Shadow's on the plane and he's having that emotional breakdown, that's the perfect comparison. I did feel something. I left that story being like, oh my gosh, that was, oh, wow. Like, you know, like it sits with you, you know, it like sits with you, you know? Whereas like the ending of this is just like, oh.
Well, and we talk about how, you know, Maria's not, and we talked about it in there, like Maria's not a character, she's a plot device. But
she works better. It works better there because he's flashing back and stuff. But yeah.
Well, but also I would argue they start to make Maria a character. You know, they allude to things. She loves looking at the stars. She loves looking at the earth. You know, she's like a weird like big sister to Abe. You know, the only time we see her get upset is like her like yelling at him. You know, and so it's like, oh, and you know, obviously we go like, oh, well, you know, they didn't have a lot of time in that. It's literally like a combined like 13 minutes long. But oh, well, if she's starting to be a character in this, maybe she like will be a character in Shadow Generations when we see her. And it's like, no, she's a ethereal, perfect pixie. Like, yeah, I don't know. And it's one of those things where again, it's like, you know, at the end of not Shadow Generations, Dark Beginnings, I was ready, you know, for this. I was like, okay, like, you know, blow my mind, Shadow Generations, you know, like I like especially like, and again, I think part of the reason why the stuff about like Shadow trying to save them bugs me so much is because like that's such an interesting idea for a story of like, and it's a story that's been done a million times for, but of like, but you know, you not with Shadow, you know, it could be something interesting of like, oh yeah, you know, he has to wrestle with the fact that like he could be selfish, he could try and keep them forever, but he can't, and he knows he can't, and like that's not in this. There's a blip of that in this. And that just sucks. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, here's a counterpoint. Mephiles.
Yes.
Go.
Okay. Holy shit, guys, Mephiles is in this game. I'm
so happy for you.
I'm so happy for me too. Like, I was like trembling when I got up to that boss gate. I don't like, because guys, The Mephiles thing is not a bit, guys. Like, I mean, it's a bit in the sense that like I'm not a weird cartoon, but like no, I love Mephiles. He's my boy. Like Silver's like my boy, but Mephiles is like he's right up there too. He's like right under Silver. Like I love this crystalline asshole. Like, and oh my, and like I was unfortunately in public when I watched the reveal trailer, so I couldn't like scream and shout and be like whatever there. But
Yeah.
it was like, holy fuck, they actually did it. Although I will say they kind of spoil it in that Sonic Central, because they're like, by the way, a new version of Mephiles is coming to Sonic's Forces. Don't question why. So it was like, so I don't know. But regardless, no. So, oh my god, he's perfect. He's as beautiful as the day I lost him. Like,
tell me why.
Dude, you don't understand how much I fucking popped off when he said "drown in darkness." Like, I should also say, Mephiles here, not voiced by Dan Green, voiced by Robbie Damon. Who, fun fact, we talked last time about how Maria in this is voiced by Stephanie Shea, the American voice actress or English voice actress of Sailor Moon. Mephiles, Robbie Damon, he is the English voice of Tuxedo Mask in Sailor Moon. So that's fun. And I think he does a great job. The only thing I would say is I think you could have maybe thrown a filter on him to make him sound more menacing. But that's the genius thing about Mephiles in this game. He's not meant to be more menacing. Because, okay, so the boss fight itself, I will say, there was a part of me that was very worried when I played the boss fight the first time, where I was like, oh no, is this the worst boss fight in the game? Because like, but the second half is a lot better, and the hard mode is a lot better. But so, oh fuck, train of thought. Something about his voice. He's not more evil. I don't know. Point is, so you get there, right?
Oh, he's desperate.
He's desperate. Yes. So here's the thing. Okay. So I was very worried going into this because when we play Kingdom Valley, I was like, okay, Shadow's gonna make a comment here of like, what is this place? I've never been here before, or like, why do I have this weird sense of deja vu or whatever, like something like that. And he doesn't. He has no in-level dialogue in Kingdom Valley, which is unfortunate. And so, when he's fighting Metal Overlord, he doesn't go like, oh fuck, what? I'm here again. Like he just has like kind of generic boss fight dialogue. And so I was terrified that he was just gonna have like generic boss fight dialogue with Mephiles. But no.
Mephiles they actually went out of their way to tell a story.
They told a story. Mephiles like breaks out of the Scepter of Darkness. And here's the best part. Here's the best part. So you could have had this be Mephiles. We plucked him out of that moment in time from the final boss of Shadow's story in 06. And Shadow doesn't recognize him. Mephiles is like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, this isn't Mephiles from Sonic 06. This is Mephiles from after Sonic 06.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every fan fiction that I've ever written, it's like, no, after Mephiles was defeated, he didn't die. After Solaris was defeated, Mephiles didn't die. He just like got stuck somewhere. He got stuck in like a corner of time.
Literally happened.
It literally happened. It's canon. So he's like, and so, they have this back and Shadow and him have this back and forth. Shadow's like, who the fuck are you? And he's like, did you forget me? And so you have this back and forth with him. And ultimately, he says all the iconic lines, drown in darkness, sink into darkness. There's another one, dance, my shadows, whatever is original boss fight dialogue. All great. And then it culminates, and, he gets more desperate. He clones himself. He throws all this shit down. And then Shadow beats him. And his final lines are not like some big villain thing. It's not like, oh, I will endure. Like, I mean, when you beat Mephiles in 06, his final thing is like, I'm immortal, I'm invincible, I cannot be destroyed. Like in this, his final dialogue is, I want to exist. And it's this. So, okay. Whenever I've thought about like, oh, how would I bring Mephiles back? How would I like to see Mephiles brought back? I always think of it of like, oh, well, obviously I'd want to see him come back as like a big bad. I'd want to see him come back as like an evil mastermind who's like, those of you who've been on this channel for a while now, back in like fucking 2018, I released this like fucking stupid theory video where I was like, actually, maybe Mephiles has been behind like everything ever since like Sonic Generations. Like maybe he was secretly the Time Eater, and maybe he secretly gave the Phantom Ruby to Eggman or whatever. Because like that's the role I always imagined him having if he came back, was like the big evil like bad guy, who's pulling all the strings. And I always imagined like maybe Silver would have some part in taking him down because I get that he's a shadow villain. I feel like Silver should be allowed to get some licks in, but I digress.
He does look tasty.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to throw in one line.
Yeah. I mean, you can interject at any time.
No, dude, I'm loving it. I'm just listening.
No, obviously that's not what this is. Mephiles is not the main villain of this. He's a mid-tier, he's like a mid-boss, And so what are we going to do with Mephiles as a mid-level boss? And I think they did the best possible thing they could have done. Because you could have just had Mephiles be like, oh, fuck you, Shadow, I'm back. Like,
and I mean, I still little girl, I'm going to shoot that hog.
Yeah. But like, and I still would have loved it because it's Mephiles. But no, they have this amazing idea of like, because Mephiles in 06, he's a dark reflection of Shadow. He's a lab experiment who gets, torn away from his other half, quote unquote, and, sealed away. And, because of that, he's like angry at the world. But they explicitly say in 06, it's not subtle. Like, Mephiles is not I love Mephiles. He's not a complex villain. Like, Shadow even says in 06, like, you don't want revenge. You just want to destroy things. Like, you're just an asshole. Like, Mephiles, he's just like a nihilist who wants to destroy everything. And that works. Like, I don't have any problem with that. But what we see here is this idea where Mephiles was a nihilist who wanted to destroy everything, reduce everything to nothingness until it was all nothingness. And in this, we see a Mephiles who's like, no, nothingness fucking sucks. Nothingness is scary and I hate it. Like, no, I don't want that. And like genuinely, like, because and it's so brilliant because like there's a part of like a lot of Mephiles fans, I'd imagine there was part of me that felt at first like, oh, is Mephiles kind of bitched out in this boss fight? But no, it is the perfect progression for like, well, what happens to Mephiles after 06? Either he, continues being the big evil guy and he wants to come back and get his big evil revenge, or he reaps what he sowed in terms of like, again, wanting to reduce everything to nothingness and getting ultimately left in nothingness himself and goes like, no, that fucking sucks. What was I thinking? This is awful. Like, yeah. And what this has done, and like, look, let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? This could just be one cool boss fight in one cool game, and that's it. And you know what? I'm happy if that's all we get. But what we have also done now is we have taken Mephiles from a character who was completely off the table. I mean, he was retconned out of existence. Like you couldn't have Mephiles show up like in that fucking lineup in Sonic Forces. He can't be just chilling next to Chaos and Zavok. He has to, if you want to bring back Mephiles properly anyway, because apparently, I don't know if you know this, apparently he almost was in Sonic Forces. Apparently he was like pitched as one of the bad guys. Yeah, that would have been awful. So thank God they didn't do that. But like, if you wanted to bring back Mephiles properly, you have to do all this time travel bullshit, which again, ultimately amounts to, oh, he went over there and now he's over here. But you still have to do some more explaining than you have to do for like Metal Sonic. But now we have taken Mephiles from a character who was dead, gone, erased from existence, completely off the table, to a character who's like, he's on the shelf. He's there. We can pull him off the shelf, or maybe we won't, but he's there. And so, maybe I will get to see Silver get his licks in, or maybe I won't, because Sega, hates me. But again, I've agreed to forgive them for everything, so whatever. Point being, that's great. The fact that like he's got like a special boss gate that's like literally hidden. It's like in a corner, like hidden. Like time is like obscuring him and like keeping him hidden away. It's perfect. I could not have asked. I couldn't have asked for anything more from this, truthfully. Like,
so you're saying Ian Flynn cooked?
He cooked. He cooked. Shun Nakamura cooked. Everyone cooked. Izuka cooked. Everyone cooked. It's great. I love it. 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 Yeah. No. Ian, anything to add?
No. I wish it was Dan Green.
I mean, I do too, because Dan Green's been the Mephiles voice in my head forever, and in the one game he's ever been in forever. But again, I think Robbie Daymond does a damn good job. And I think for this version of Mephiles, that I think he sells it perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it kind of really works that he doesn't sound as menacing. So, I mean,
Yeah.
regardless, everything you said, I agree. And yeah, it's very cool. It's just like that is kind of like, to me, that's like Flynn doing what I always love when he does is he's like, it's like, oh, we could just bring this character back. He's like, or we could tell a story, and it's awesome. So it's really cool.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, no, it's great. I love it.
Yep.
Not much more to say about Mephiles. Let me check my notes. Anything you want to add while I'm checking my notes?
No, I think that's a perfect way to end off, and on a big burst of positivity, because yeah, I really think they nailed it with Mephiles. Heck yeah, man. I'm glad you won.
I did win. Okay.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. It's an hour 16. Would you want to do a discussion on the diary?
My throat kind of hurts, to be honest with you.
All right. So we'll tune in next time.
Next time. Yeah, we're going to do a whole big episode where we break down that diary page by page. We're going to open the book. We're going to take the disc out of the hollowed out book. We're going to put it in. We're going to look through it. No, I think we're good. I think we covered everything.
Yeah. So, hey, Shadow Generations. I said that if it was bad, I'd be really upset and kill Pastian. Pastian gets to live. The future's secured. I quite enjoyed it a lot. I think I gave it like an 8 out of 10 on my thing. It's just really fun as a game, like gameplay wise and story wise. It was good for a normie like me who's just like, Shadow, whatever. It made me go, I kind of like Shadow. It was pretty good. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad to keep being positive. The positive streak is going.
It is going. I also really enjoyed, despite what my commentary and this may have alluded to. No, I really love this game. I'm gonna probably play it, as soon as I hop off the call with Ian. Like, those fucking tool pieces, I hate them, but I have to get them all because the reward for them is the Supporting Me remix from Sonic Forces, and I really like that. So fuck. But anyway,
but all right.
Point is, no, I really enjoyed it. It's well, here's the real question. When we rank this game in terms of like top 5 Sonic games, or if you're like ranking on a tier list, is it combined with Sonic Generations, or is Shadow Generations like its own thing?
I think you're allowed to do both. Because I mean, as a full package, it's kind of like the best Sonic game for me. Because I love the classic levels, I love Generations levels, and I love the Shadow levels. So just as a video game, yeah, it's probably like, it's not my favorite because I still think Mania is my favorite. But it's up there. It's definitely in top 5. As its own individual thing, I would probably say like it's in the top 10.
Yeah, I would. It's definitely a top 5er for me. I don't know what I'm bumping though, because obviously 06 and SA2, those are always going to be my top 2. It might slot into the number 3 spot. I don't know, but regardless, yeah, no, good game. I guess if you haven't gotten it and you've gotten this far, go play it. Yeah. And Ian, you want to plug your shit before we go?
Yeah, I'm Ian Waffles. You can find me at Ian Waffles on Twitter and YouTube. Thanks for having me as always. This was really fun. I'm glad I just got to hear my friend gush. He won. It was great.
I won. It's great.
I had to be here for this historic moment.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm also on Twitter at StormRacer1. You could see I did a whole week of Mephiles memes leading up to the release of this game. So you can go look at those. Also, before we go to get serious, but just bring up something in the real world. If you are in the United States, if you are of legal voting age, the election is coming up. Make sure you check your registration. Make sure you have a plan to vote. Vote early if you can. And I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, obviously, but I will say only one of the candidates was a personal friend of Jeffrey Epstein. So just keep that in mind when you go to the ballot box.
Black Doom. Bye.
Bye.